Hi guys, welcome to lecture number 2 for my AI system design playlist. So guys, today we'll be targeting a very important and a crucial concept. That's what is the difference between microservices and monolithic. Guys, see, specifically, this is one of the very important call which you need to take as an AI architect. Okay, whenever you're designing a system based on the application requirements and your team's understanding of things and the budget into it, the scale of the product, you would probably need to take this decision, and then this decision is the decision, guys, that is either going to make your product good or maybe bad. So this is a very crucial call, and we should like spend at least I believe in an like fashion of hours. It should be a discussion of about 2 hours between all stakeholders combined, guys. Obviously, at an architectural level, you can take a call that hey, I need to go with microservices or monolithic, but guys, you need to make your team also in sync with it, because guys, there are times when you will find out that maybe people are not very much comfortable with these things, so you need to take it slowly in your organization and slowly build up these type of concepts. So guys, let's start. And guys, this one decision can really make your product hit or fail. Okay, because guys, trust me, both of them have different things. Okay, both of them have different procedures, both of them have different costs, both of them have different logging methods, both of them have different system design principles. So guys, you just need to be a little careful in this lecture, because this could be one of the most important lectures. And guys, see, what is microservices and now what is monolithic? So guys, just try to imagine in this format that what is happening is that you have, let's say, an API to communicate to LLMs, an API to communicate to, let's say, Google Weather, a API to communicate with Google News, and you want to build a full stack application that would leverage these three facilities. So now in microservices, what will happen, guys? Your backend would be separate and your front end would be separate. Okay, so these three, you try to understand this. These three, like let's say you are using Azure Web Apps. Okay, these three would be deployed as three different apps. Okay, or one app in which you are creating everything. So guys, you're able to see, and then your front end would be separate. So your front end can either interact with three Azure web apps, or it can interact with just one app which has all these facilities. So it might be a little confusing. Let's just go into some code and see. Okay, this is one project that I was doing. So let's just go to app, and let's just try to see the back end of it. Let's just try to see which one. Let's just see the route of it. Let's just see the chat route. So what is this exactly doing is, I have created this endpoint. Okay guys, API router chat. Now what it will do, that first of all it will check that essentially it is making sure that user messages of the class user message. Okay, and user dig depends verify session. So guys, see, what was the requirement is that you have this route chat, and you don't want anyone who is not verified, that means who has not logged in into your system, to just go and start chatting. So this is known as dependency injection and fast API. Let's not go into the technicals, but you're able to see how I was able to code up an API, right? So you are just storing the user message, then you are inserting user message, then you are inserting your LLM's response and everything. So guys, this is one logic. Let's say who has been written by your AI developer, your backend developer, and who stays in, let's say, India. Now your front end developer, okay, your front end developer, guys, can directly use this API. Let's say this API is deployed as an Azure web app. Okay, so what will happen is there would be one route available at the rate chat. So Azure web app dot com something something at the rate chat, and your front end person is going to call this route. Okay, he can call it in whatever way he wants. So guys, this is microservices, wherein your front end is separate, back end is separate, deployment for front end is separate, deployment for back end is separate. You know, as I said, that even you can break down the front end components into multiple parts. So a lot of time what people do is that they have separate deployment for all resources, and they don't scale up the entire system like this. So they say that okay, a lot of people are using our LLM based services. Makes sense. So let's do one thing. Let's try to scale this web app. Now let's say I have coupled all these three things and your front end, everything into one system. That is what is monolithic. Okay, so guys, see, you would have created an AI application, let's say a chatbot, Okay, let's say you have created any basic project. Let's say you have created a text box system where you uh, let the user do input, and then based on that you predict anything. Okay, so all of you must have made these type of application. That's why you're studying system design, right? Or even you haven't made, guys, any application which you see, most of the things which people build in terms of projects are basically monolithic, because everything is like hosted in a single web app, right? Like any Flask based application, all the projects in my YouTube channel are completely based on my monolithic. Okay, they are not based on microservices. So guys, let's say you have your backend, right? You have your backend like having multiple routes, multiple API calls. All those API calls can be deployed as separate web apps as well, and then your front end person can directly interact with it. So guys, this really boils down to your expertise in the team, what is the scale of the product, and related stuff. So just now let's just try to read. There are a few points that I have collated. So definition: a collection of small, independent and loosely coupled services, each responsible for a specific functionality. As I said, guys, we all are talking about generative AI, right? You would have one route that would be calling LLM, one route that would be calling another LLM, one route for calling Google News API, one route for this, one route for YouTube API, one route for your internal database management operations. Everything is like separate, and your front end is separate, then they communicate. Now in monolithic, a single unified application. So guys, any product that you have seen mostly on my website, on my YouTube, or my on my LinkedIn, or what people show, right? Let's say they have built a chatbot, let's say they have built an ML app, all that is monolithic because everything is in coupled, right? It's not that you're doing backend separately, front end separately in terms of deployment, and then they are communicating. Everything is like tightly coupled. Now see guys, Netflix uses microservices, which is very obvious, guys. They would have I don't know how many plus n plus services have to interact with each other. So obviously if they would code up a one big app, so then this is the problem, right? Let's say in one big app someday your login feature is not working as expected and there is a bug, your entire system can crash, right? But let's say your login feature, your billing feature, your cart feature, everything is in separate place. So usually it becomes more easier to manage. That doesn't mean that like it would seem till now that microservices is your go-to solution, but in my playlist only have said that please guys don't fall for these fancy terms, just try to stick to the basics and don't fall for technical technical dilemma that okay, I understand now what is microservices. Now in my life everything I'm going to do as microservices. Just imagine so many web apps, right? So many let's say so many web apps are in throwing data into a database, right? Separate deployment, separate dev for every environment, separate prod for every service. It could be very costly initially in terms of cloud setup. It could really kill all the bandwidth which your team has. It could really overcomplicate things which could have been just done by a monolithic setup. So guys, it's not always like microservices is cool. Obviously it's cool, that's why people use it, but then you need to really understand that hey, I mean, what is the standard of my team, what is the resources I can allot. Just imagine if you would go for a complete, like everything is so loosely coupled, right? Everything is so loosely coupled. Let's say you try to make one backend. Again, this is very important, right? One backend can be in Python, one backend could be in JavaScript, one backend could be in Rust, one backend could be in Go. All four are deployed in separate thing, and then the front end is communicating with it. This looks so cool, but then guys, I'm not sure like how feasible sometimes all these things are, because I mean, teams usually specific to India have cost constraint, right? Business requirements come at the last time constraint is there. So just like think from a management point of view also, and your technical point of view also, then only choose one thing over microservices or monolithic. Okay, let's just move to another thing. So guys, see, this is very important. Like the development is handled by multiple teams, and the deployment is handled by multiple teams. This is the interesting way of working, right? Wherein you have one big project and otherwise people are like, hey, I don't know much about auth, but I really know about LLM. I want to just make a route for my LLM base operations along with some business logic and let the front end person use it directly into the application. So okay, this is cool, but here you need to work in and there would be one code base only, right? So you need to maintain that. So at times, right, let's say you have a very giant application into one code base, and imagine next day someone comes in and sees it, he would possibly be lost. So just go slow, but yeah, that's the part. Scalability. Now guys, scalability is little tricky to understand, right? As I said that some people believe that microservices are more scalable, and I am also of the same opinion. That, see guys, if you have the time, have the bandwidth, have the nice tech team, and have all the resources, then maybe if you are going for a very big tech product and you're not exactly sure that which component you need to scale up and which component you don't need to scale up. Because see guys, if you would deploy everything as microservice, as monolithic, right, as one big major chunk, then you need to scale it all up or all down, right? Let's say now, as I said, that your LLM is having a lot of requests, you want it. Let's say guys, even this is very important, right? A lot of organizations have done this. They like deploy 4 LLMs, and what do they do is all those 4 LLMs are deployed as separate web apps, right? One is deployed in basic tier, one is deployed in standard tier, one is deployed in premier tier, because they know that the volume of queries would be 80% directed to one LLM only. So why do we need to put everything in one component? Let's just break it down. So guys, see, but now who will tell you that, let's say you have four LLMs, four into at least three environments. If you would go by, let's even go for 2 to 3, you would have to maintain 12 to 13 environments at one time. That's why guys, if you go for a microservices based approach, it would be little more, what do you call that, a little more, perhaps you'd be having more number of people involved in it, more number of resources occupied. But for microservices, only one person can do all, and one person can do front end, like not one but like a one team, and they can communicate. So that is there. Now guys, this is one of the very beautiful thing of technology stack. See guys, in microservices, everything can be like written in another programming language. This is very important. You don't need to be like everything in Python, everything in Java, everything in this, everything in that. Let's say you have some logic which only can be written in C++, and some logic which can only be written in Python. So it's okay, you can deploy that separately, and then your front end or whatever thing you have of your application, it can consume in that way. So guys, again, these are very minor things, but this is what will really impact, right? So just try to understand. Then guys, deployment, I have made sure that you understand deployment. Fault isolation. Now guys, this is usually a point which some people told me when I was doing research on what people use. So guys, they told that, hey, like this feature really helps us get away with a lot of things. That, let's say your recommendation system is down, but you don't want the billing also to be down. So then maybe you would go for microservices, because everything is loosely coupled, right? Everything is deployed separately. The front end is communicating with this, the front end is communicating with this, and let's say this breaks down. So that doesn't mean that this would also break down. So just try to understand on those terms. And this is very important, guys. A failure in one component can potentially crash the entire system. This is very important, guys. So let's say you have built an application, and the user is like chatting with it, and you're storing the data into some database. Okay, so guys, usually in the stage of database creation, we create something known as connection, right? So we connection is the string that allows us to dump data and authorize and all those things. Now let's say for some reason your connection string gets broken. Now the user will store the data, but your data won't be stored in the DB. And let's say based on that data in the DB, the next response needed to be generated. So let's say you like this is how you have written everything, that let's say the user will upload a resume, you will store it into a DB, extract information, and then show the resume summary. But now tell me guys, let's say your database connection is broken down, everything will break down. So your last goal will not be completed. So guys, these are minor things which you need to understand. Again, this lecture might be like a little biased towards microservices, but I'll tell you in the end something about AI and ML products which no one talks about. Now guys, performance. So guys, obviously this is one thing to calculate that in terms of performance and latency. So usually microservices might have little more latency related issues, because like everything is separate, and like my monolithic is generally faster, since the entire communication is going to just happen in one component. Again guys, as I said, I was talking about team expertise, right? Team expertise, maintenance, collaboration, cost, all these are like what manager calls, right? This is not what sometimes technical people call, but sometimes you need to go by them what management says. Because let's say your team really hasn't worked on monolithic architect microservices based architecture ever. So what will happen, guys? Tell me. Do you think they'll be able to manage so many endpoints? And then let's say your front end team is also new, so sometimes it becomes a overburden. Then let's say, guys, you want a MVP quick, right? So you won't go for what you call that microservices based architecture. You want to wrap everything fast, so that's there. The next thing is maintenance. Now, guys, maintenance is important, right? So what usually happens is that here maintenance is slightly like, see, I'll tell you. Let's say Aditya has written LLM based logic and Ramesh has written auth based logic, and both of them are deployed separately. Now some issue is in auth, but I can chill. I'll be like, hey, I have a different service that's working fine, you need to fix your auth issue. So usually people say that from the end of maintenance, guys, it is relatively easy to like have a microservices based application. Then, guys, team collaboration is there. I don't want to comment on that, but yeah, you need to understand, right? For for microservices, if you want multiple people working on like multiple services, they must have great tech skills. They must be involved with each other, involved in the sense not in code base, but at least like sharing API documentations and standard practices which we all follow. And then the cost part, as I said, guys, some initially microservices is super expensive, but like initially monolithic is little cheaper, since every not little, it's very cheap because you just need to deploy everything all at once. So, guys, now let's talk about conclusion and what should be your call, right? See, guys, I'll be telling you. First of all, you need to understand what you are building. Okay, what is the scale at which it's gonna go, and what time frame you are targeting, what is your team expertise, and what is the cost thing involved. So let's say now Netflix knows that whenever a new show got launched, so Squid Game got launched recently, right? So you must be able to see that how many requests the Netflix server would be facing, right? So they want to create something that is very scalable from day one, because they know that if something happens, it's gonna be very important for us in terms of scalability. Now you want to create an internal web app which will be used by 10 people, and you say that, hey, let me go by microservices. So that's absolutely wrong. Everything can be just wrapped in a single Flask application. You don't need Django, you don't need fast API. Why do you want to complicate your stuff? This entire thing, can be even shipped by one good developer. This cannot be just shipped by one good developer, guys. This is the problem. If you want, this cannot be just done by one person. Here you need multiple people. You need 3 4 good front end guys, 3 4 good front end, 4 back end guys who are really involved in their work. So then only you'll be able to successfully ship. The next thing is, if you want to quickly create an MVP, obviously go for a monolithic architecture. You want to create from day one, you know that, hey, it's going to be a very scalable product. There would be multiple people using it, and my team has expertise in various skills. I have a good team, I have good budget, everything is I have in my pocket. So then maybe, guys, microservices would work for you on day one. Because then if you have team, let's say you have a separate team who, let's say you have a backend engineer who is exceptional in database management and authentication. Let's say you have a AI engineer who is exceptional at writing, let's say LLM based hosting, or or ML model based hosting, or some custom algorithms, right? You have two separate people, and let's say he's like, I want to write it in Java, he's like, I want to write it in Python. Then you're like, hey, you both have your tech stack, you both have your separate services, we'll deploy everything separately, and then this front end person is going to communicate. So, guys, see, this could be a wonderful scenario, but this usually happens once you're, see, there are two things which usually people in tech ship. One is an internal tool, and another is a product that's going to be used wide wise, right? So Netflix is a product. So if you are in product space, want to create something that that would scale up over time. And, guys, see, the problem is that the problem with tech is that it's not just possible on a lot of places to save on a lot of costs. You can try that, you should try that, but there are few recommendations, right? Let's say uh, whenever you buy a DB on cloud, there is some little bit cost upfront, right? uh, and let's say you're using some VM, there would be some cost involved. So it's not everything can be done in your own laptop and then everything works. So that's the call that you need to take. So usually the tech lead and the manager is involved, and they like find a common ground over here, right? That okay sir, this is the internal tool that would be used by at max 50 people. A simple flask app can very easily handle 50 requests to 100 requests. Now the next thing is, no sir, this app is going to be used by 100 plus users up till 1000 users, and there could be a situation that 200 users might be chatting with the system concurrently. So you need async. Then you would be like, okay, I'll go for a fast API based service. And then you are like, hey, everything is separate in Python. The developer only knows Python, and here the front end guy can use whatever he want, and then these two things would communicate. Then maybe you would go for a simple like microservices based approach where your back end is separate and your front end is separate. That's also one approach. Then you are like, no, I need to break this down into multiple components. You can do that, guys. It's all based on the cloud resources you have, the compute you have, the team capability you have, the usage you have, and whatever would be the scale of the application you are expecting. So usually what happens is, guys, there are few tools which help you like replicate some sort of production traffic, to just help you get ready with it. And guys, these type of testings are very important. I'll tell you why. Because guys, see, usually what happens is that I'll tell you uh, one thing which is based out of user understanding, that when someone buys a product to eat, right? Let's say you're buying a product to eat, then maybe they will look in the back and say that, hey, what is there? Okay, this has these many oils, these many fats. Oh no, this has more protein, more fiber, more vitamins, this is more healthy, then I'll consume. But guys, when you're dealing with tech products, right, always remember the user doesn't care about anything except for experience. No user will tell you that, hey, this is written in Python, I won't use it, I'll only use if it is written in Java. No, it is written, backend is in Go, no, backend is in Rust. It doesn't matter, guys. In whatever thing your backend is, it hardly matters to the user. You only imagine, did you ever think that Netflix uses microservices? You didn't care, you're busy watching amazing shows on the platform, which is how it works. The same thing is for an internal tool. Let's say you make an internal tool for the HR team. Guys, you won't get brownie points if you implement microservices and then you tell the HR, the platform is built on microservices. He or she would be like, hey, it's either built on micro, mini, I don't know, but this doesn't do what I wanted it to do. So just understand, guys. Just try to like have some discussions with people around you in order to understand these type of situations little better. Don't just take a call in hurry. Try to understand the scale, costing, team management, what expertise you have. And guys, at the core of it daily lies these parameters, that what expertise you are going to have. Now chat GPT, guys, I'll tell you, did you ever like look at chat GPT? A lot of people think that chat GPT, this product, guys, is amazing, amazing, amazing product. This is probably the best product like in the decade in terms of product design and usability. The second one which I exceptionally like is Cursor, guys. Cursor is also amazing. It's super, super, super nice. But guys, Chat GPT was not like so good from day one. Now they have added so many features, right? View tools, you can use DALI, you can search on the web, you can use Canvas, then you have search, right? You can like maybe search the web. Just try to look at the interface, the design, the kind of DB management which they have done, right? Just look at this, right? So here you are able to see that like once you are implementing chat history feature, right? I'm just giving you few examples to make you think. Okay, once you are implementing chat history feature, now guys, I talk with chat GPT daily, right? I talk with chat GPT daily. Now just try to understand how much chat I have done. See, it has it has classified these things into previous 7 days, yesterday and today, right? Because they must have implemented pagination. So it's like, see, this is still getting loaded. So guys, always try to understand, because they knew, guys, they knew that this is going to be scaled very nicely. We need exceptional engineers in the team to manage this kind of load. So guys, always think from user perspective. Think about coding secondly, think about user from first, that what would be the flow, what can be the issues, what cannot be the issues, right? All these things are very important, and sometimes guys PMs are very good at it, right? They try to help you with that. That's why these little low roles get created, not little, but try to just understand that it's not that the developer would do everything. But guys, you need to take this call on day one that you want to go for a microservices or monolithic architecture. Try to take this call very wisely, as this could, like, forget about the product or not, this would involve your ways of working, this would impact your cost. And I think for an organization, at least 95% organization, these things are super important. What is the cost we are getting into? So just spend some time, read more about it. And guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There would be amazing content that would be coming up for 2025. You can directly ping me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Have a happy new year, and please subscribe. Bye.